situation and doesn't present financial stability issues. But no, we do understand that that's really where a very big effect of our policies is.
Hi, Victoria Guida with Politico. I wanted to ask about the labor market. You mentioned early on again that job openings are very high compared to available workers, and I'm just curious to what extent you do and don't draw a signal from that. So, for example, if wage growth is slowing and if maybe the unemployment rate starts to tick up, will that make you sort of decrease your focus on job openings? What do you see? Are wages what's really important? How are you thinking about the labor market as it relates to inflation?
So we talk a lot about vacancies and the vacancy to unemployed rate, but it's just one. It's just another data series. It's been unusually important in this cycle because it's been so out of line. But so has quits, so have wages. So we look at a very wide range of data on the labor market. So I'd start with unemployment, which is typically the single statistic you would look to, is at a 50-year low, 3.5%. We're getting really nothing in labor supply now. We had, I think, a very small increase this year, which we had really thought we would get that back. Most analysts thought we would get some labor supply coming in. You mentioned wages, so I guess I would characterize that as sort of a mixed picture. It's true with average hourly earnings you see, so I would call it a flattening out at a level that's well above the level that would be consistent over time with 2% inflation, assuming a reasonable productivity. There, with the ECI reading this week, again, a mixed picture. The headline number was a disappointment. Let's just say it was high. It didn't show a decline. There's some rays of light inside, that if you look at private sector workers, that did come down, the compensation did come down. But overall, though, the broader picture is of an overheated labor market where demand substantially exceeds supply. Job creation still exceeds, the sort of the level that would hold the market where it is. So that's the picture. Do we see? We keep looking for signs that sort of the beginning of a gradual softening is happening. Maybe that's there, but it's not obvious to me because wages aren't coming down; they're just moving sideways at an elevated level. Both ECI and average hourly earnings. We want to see. We would love to see vacancies coming down, quits coming down. They are coming down. Vacancies are below their all-time high, but not by as much as we thought, because, and that, the data series is volatile. We never take any one reading. We always look at, 2 or 3. So it's a mixed picture. I don't see the case for real softening just yet, but we look at, I guess as I just showed you, we look at a very broad range of data on the labor market.
So do you see wages as being a significant driver of inflation?
I think wages have an effect on inflation, and inflation has an effect on wages. I think that's always been the case. There's always a going back and forth. The question is that really elevated right now? I don't think so. I don't think wages are the principal story of why prices are going up. I don't think that. I also don't think that we see a wage price spiral. But again, it's not something you can, once you see it, you're in trouble. So we don't want to see it. We want wages to go up. We just want them to go up at a level that's sustainable and consistent with 2% inflation. And we do think that given the data that we have, that this labor market can soften without having to soften as much as history would indicate through the unemployment channel. It can soften through job openings declining. We think there's room for that, but we won't know that. That'll be discovered empirically.
Thank you so much. Kayla Tausche from CNBC. Earlier last month, the United Nations warned that there could be a global recession if central banks didn't change course. The new UK Prime Minister warned of a profound economic crisis there. And I'm wondering how the Fed is weighing international developments in light of a very strong economy here in the U.S. that would seem to be bucking those trends.
So, of course, we keep close tabs on economic developments and also geopolitical developments that are relevant to the economy abroad. We're in very frequent contact with our foreign counterparts, both through the IMF meetings and the regular meetings with central banks that we have, and I have one this weekend with many central bankers. So we're in touch with all of that. So I guess it's clearly a difficult time in the global economy. We're seeing we're seeing very high inflation in Europe, significantly because of high energy prices related to the war in Ukraine, and we're seeing China's having issues with the zero COVID policy and much slower growth than we're used to seeing. So we see those difficulties. The strong dollar is a challenge for some countries, but we have it, and we that's a task we need to do. Price stability in the United States is a good thing for the global economy over a long period of time. Price stability is the kind of thing that pays dividends for our economy for decades, hopefully. Even though it may be difficult to get it back, getting it back is something that provides value to the people we serve for the long run.
Thank you. The Fed has acknowledged in the past that the tools that you have don't affect things like energy and food prices that stem from some of those conflicts overseas, and they're some of the biggest pain points for consumers. So as you pursue the current path that you've outlined, is there a risk that some of those prices simply don't come down?
So we don't directly affect, for the most part, food and energy prices, but the demand channel does affect them just at the margin. The thing about the United States is that we also have in many other jurisdictions, the principal problem really is energy. In the United States, we also have a demand issue. We've got an imbalance between demand and supply, which you see in many parts of the economy. So our tools are well suited to work on that problem, and that's what we're doing. You're right, though. We don't. The price of oil is set globally, and it's not something we can affect. I think by the actions that we take, though, we help keep longer-term inflation expectations anchored, and keep the public believing in 2% inflation by the things that we do, even in times when energy is part of the story of why inflation is high.
Hi, Chair Powell, Janelle Marte with Bloomberg. So the Fed is facing two more ethics-related incidents with the revision of the financial statements from President Bostic and President Bullard speaking at a closed event. So some senators, like Elizabeth Warren, are saying that this is a sign of greater ethics problems at the Fed. Could you talk about what this does to the public's trust in the bank and what the Fed is doing to prevent this kind of behavior from becoming common?
Sure. So you're right. The public's trust is really the Fed's and any central bank's most important asset. And anytime one of the policymakers violates or falls short of those rules, we do risk undermining that trust, and we take that very seriously. We do. So at the beginning of our meeting yesterday, actually, we had a committee discussion of the full committee on the importance of holding ourselves individually and collectively accountable for knowing and following the high standard that's set out in our existing rules with respect to both personal investment activities and external communications. And we've taken a number of steps, and I would just say we do understand how important those issues are. I would say that our new investment program that we have is up now and running, and actually it was through that the problems with President Bostic's disclosures were discovered when he filed his new disclosures. That's we now have a central group here at the Board of Governors that looks into disclosures and follows them and approves people's disclosures, and also all of their trades. Any trade anyone has to make who's covered has to be pre-approved. And there's a lag. It has to be pre-approved 45 days before it happens, so there's no ability to game market. So it's a really good system. It worked here. And I think we all said to each other yesterday morning, we recommitted to each other and to this institution to hold ourselves to the highest standards and avoid these problems.
Do you have an update on the investigations that are pending?
I don't. So, as you know, I referred the matter concerning President Bostic to the Inspector General. And once that happens, I don't discuss it with the Inspector General with anybody. It's just the Inspector General has the ability to do investigations. We don't really have that, so that's reasonable.
Michael McKee from Bloomberg Television and Radio. Earlier this year, you touted the 3-month bill yield out to 18 months as the yield curve with 100% explanatory power. And you said, quote, if it's inverted, that means the Fed's going to cut, which means the economy is weak. That curve is only 2 basis points away from inversion now, so I'm wondering why you are so confident that you have not over-tightened, particularly given that rates work with a lag.
So we do monitor the near-term forward spread, you're right, and that's been our preferred measure. We think it, just empirically, it dominates the ones that people tend to look at, which is 2s, 10s, and things like that. So it's not inverted. And also, you have to look at why things, why the rate curve is doing what it's doing. It can be doing that because it expects cuts or because it expects inflation to come down. In this case, if you're in a situation where the markets are pricing in significant declines in inflation, that's going to affect the forward curve. So yes, we monitor it. You're right. That's what I would say.
Follow up. You also said several meetings ago that the risk of doing too little outweighed the risk of doing too much. Is what you're trying to tell us today is that risk assessment has changed a little bit?
Well, what's happened is time has passed and we've raised interest rates by 375 basis points. I would not change a word in that statement, though. I think until we get inflation down, you'll be hearing that from me. Again, if we over-tighten, and we don't want to, we want to get this exactly right, but if we over-tighten, then we have the ability with our tools, which are powerful, to, as we showed at the beginning of the pandemic episode, we can support economic activity strongly if that happens, if that's necessary. On the other hand, if you make...
Vamos a dejarle ya que descanse. Vamos a ver que también se me ha ido aquí. Bueno, un poco el resumen, ¿vale? Así que he ido apuntando. Que es un poco lo que apuntaré ahora en Capital Radio. Siguen concienciados en bajar la inflación. La estabilidad también, obviamente, en el mercado de trabajo les ha beneficiado. Siguen empeñados en reducir el balance, ¿vale? El balance de la FED, que al final, obviamente, es donde han inyectado mayor dinero. Han hablado también de de que se ha visto un decrecimiento en la economía americana, también en el gasto y en el consumo, pues, de las familias, en la reducción del número de hipotecas que ha afectado al mercado de vivienda, aumento de las fuertes condiciones del mercado de trabajo, que a priori sigue fuerte, donde la demanda excede la oferta y, pues bueno, donde más preocupante le he visto y donde peor le he visto, aparte de lo de siempre, echar la culpa a Rusia y a Ucrania y, bueno, hablar del máximo empleo. Donde más preocupado lo he visto es en la subida de la inflación subyacente, es donde menos se ha podido defender Powell. Le habían preguntado, ¿no? si estaba tan seguro de que qué pasaría si esa inflación es más alta de la esperada. Y bueno, ha salido bastante mal. Eso ha precedido prácticamente a la caída del mercado en minutos. No se lo ha tomado muy bien el mercado porque parece que le han pillado un poquito con el pie cambiado. Por eso es tan importante las reuniones de la FED, pero más allá de la reunión, el propio directo, ¿no? Donde los periodistas en la comparecencia le van preguntando. No se le ha visto muy fresco, ha traído el mercado abajo, ahora parece que hay que rebotar. Obviamente esto es, como decían, una montaña rusa, ¿no? Pero, y de momento, no, si nos vamos a gráfico diario, de momento nada que no hubiésemos visto hoy, ¿no? Vamos a hacer un poquito más pequeño, si es que quiere. Vamos a hacerlo más pequeño, ¿vale? Pero ya tenéis ahí la vela araña, la vela doji, con muchísima volatilidad, un día con bastante volatilidad. De momento con el mercado cayendo, tenemos también al eurodólar pues subiendo ligeramente. Ahora parece que el eurodólar, bueno, esto claramente yo creo que es una señal de rebote, un primer rebote, pero cuidado con esta vela porque ya podría meterse en problemas de más. Ojo, aquí no tengo la media de 30 sesiones para lanzarla bien y no se ponen aquí muy bien los indicadores, pero ojo porque me parece que ha sido un rebote a la media de 30 semanas y puede que el eurodólar siga bajando, ¿no? Lo que significa que el euro se siga depreciando versus el dólar. ¿Qué más cosas ha dicho? Bueno, me quedo con el tema de la inflación subyacente, no hay un número para la inflación subyacente. En cuanto a comidas y energías le han preguntado, oye, pero seguro que esto va a bajar, ¿no? Ha dicho que ellos tienen los mecanismos, pero tampoco lo ha afirmado de manera rotunda. Eso yo creo que ha generado bastante tensión en esos momentos previos. No, además, la pregunta incómoda, ¿no?, que le han realizado acerca de los estímulos, ha dicho, bueno, quizá reducir los estímulos no sea la mejor opción, ¿no? O no queremos ser demasiado... No queremos pecar de cautos y que los estímulos pues vayan a bastante peor. Entonces, bueno, es un poco la situación que nos ha traído Jerome Powell. La situación de los mercados actuales no cambia muchísimo, ¿vale? Ya sabéis, hemos hablado en el vídeo anterior, perdonad que para los que estáis viendo ahora se ha cortado, no sé debido a qué, y he tenido que reiniciar un poco la plataforma para volver a emitir. Y bueno, tenéis el vídeo, van a quedar los dos vídeos en el canal, uno será con la primera parte, otra con esta segunda parte. Lo que está claro es que hemos visto una serie de acciones, son una serie de sectores, mejor dicho, y también de acciones, y son esas acciones, esos sectores en los que nosotros en Planeta Bolsa pues vamos a seguir el rumbo. Es en las que vamos a seguir guiándonos mientras sigan siendo los más fuertes del mercado. Los números están ahí, ¿vale? Tenéis el grupo también de Telegram, ya lo hemos comentado mil veces, ¿no? Tenéis el grupo público, os lo voy a mostrar un segundo, ¿vale? Es donde vamos colgando pues información, donde recientemente pues ha venido entrando gente, y es Planeta Bolsa Público. Lo voy a dejar en el enlace del vídeo de YouTube por si alguien quiere también unirse, por si alguien quiere entrar, y es donde vamos dejando la información más interesante dentro del trading, ¿no? Lo que vemos más significativo, también cómo marchan nuestras carteras. Ya sabéis que, bueno, como decía, las hereje impulso van con un 4 y un 5% arriba, tenemos al EDR con un 9, y eso sí, tenemos mucho más atrás a la cartera de índices, que de momento está en liquidez con menos 8 en el año, ¿vale? Bueno, vela de indecisión en el SP, parece que de momento ha aliviado un poco la caída, parece que deja atrás esa vela donde pues estaba entrando problemas, y bueno, vamos a ver si es capaz ahora mismo de superar los 3.900 puntos. Ya sabéis, en el medio largo plazo nada cambia, 4.300 sería el punto más interesante para ver una reversión, ¿no?, de lo que viene siendo el mercado, aunque ya digo, por las palabras de Powell, no parece demasiado convencido a que esto o que esta bajada haya acabado, creo que le puede quedar todavía un tramo lateral, no sé si a la baja, no sé si al alza, pero veremos un poco los indicadores de market timing que nos van dejando hoy. Iremos revisando un poco también si tenemos algún sistema de cobertura que nos dé señal, pero por lo que observo no parece que el mercado de momento se lo esté tomando demasiado bien, y por las palabras de Powell podría quedar todavía algún momento bajista, ¿no?, o alguna pata todavía bajista en los próximos meses, hasta que al menos haya una caída fuerte de la inflación y ellos empiezan a decidir reducir ese ritmo de recompras en los repos, o incluso pues en la manera en la que están subiendo los tipos de interés y suban de manera pues mucho menos acelerada. Vamos a mirar, a ver si tengo por aquí, disculpad, y ya con esto cerramos, ahora sí que cerramos. que me tengo que ir a Capital Radio, me llaman en unos minutos, en 5 para ser concreto. Voy a mirar cómo está la opinión para los próximos meses del comité, ¿no? Del sentimiento de mercado desde el CME, ¿vale? Desde el Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Y vamos a ver si nos lo muestra aquí. Fijaros que obviamente la subida se ha quedado en un 4, que era lo esperado. Pero fijaros ya que empezamos a tener tipos, empiezan a relucir como muy probable que en septiembre del año que viene tengamos en Estados Unidos tipos de entre el 5, 5,25, 5,5, ojo, porque son subidas bastante fuertes. Y es más, a diciembre del año que viene ahora mismo hay un sentimiento de que probablemente los tipos estén un punto por encima, ¿vale? Esta es la situación ahora mismo del mercado. Como sabéis, si mañana mañana no, pero en la próxima reunión descendiese los tipos de interés, por ejemplo, pues obviamente estos simplemente son objetivos de probabilidad, pero bueno, aún así interesante que ya algunos objetivos de probabilidad se nos vayan hasta prácticamente el 5, 5,5, algo con lo que no contábamos y con lo que no habíamos visto todavía, ¿vale? Chicos, gracias por estar aquí. Os voy a poner música, a ver si no me la banean, y yo creo que me marcho a Capital Radio corriendo, que me van a llamar ya de allí. Voy a cerrar. Gracias a todos de verdad, por haber venido al especial. Ya sabéis que yo no soy periodista, lo hago lo mejor posible. Ya sabéis que a la vez que voy traduciendo tengo que ir escribiendo, lo cual pues no es fácil. Y oye, pues bueno, agradeceros los likes y que compartáis este vídeo o el canal pues para más información, porque en base a eso iremos haciendo muchísimas más cosas, ¿vale? Un abrazo y gracias a todos. Saludos, y perdonar que se haya cortado antes en la mitad, cuando estábamos ya casi 40 y tantos. Un saludo.